Okay, welcome Ronit to the Biohacker Babes. Thanks for joining us today.
So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're talking about one of my, maybe I say this a lot, but one of my personal favorite topics.
You do, but this is for real.
This is for real. Yes, we're talking about, well, fertility in general, but I think we are going to skew a little bit more towards male fertility today because enough people are not talking about it. And as we were talking about before we hit record, that I wrote my thesis on this back in 2013 when really no one was talking about it. Like I was like the weirdo that were like, they were like, what is sperm count and morphology? Like, what does that have to do with it? It's all about the women and what the women need to be doing. So, you and Vida are doing amazing work in this space, really educating, providing solutions. So, we're really excited to bring this to our audience. And as I was preparing for this episode, I thought, let me look up some stats about male fertility today because I know it is declining. And there was one that really jumped out at me. Average sperm count has dropped by over 50% in the last 50 years. That is
Yes.
that is mind-blowing. So maybe you can share with us like why are people still overlooking the male part of the equation for fertility when we know that there's a rapid decline happening?
Totally. And the stats are staggering, and I could share more in a little bit. But first of all, I just want to say, like, hats off to you. You're amazing for back in 12 years
Thank you.
ago, diving into the topic that we dove into because of our life experience with miscarriage. And this was 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, really nobody was talking about sperm quality as it relates to fertility or pregnancy outcomes. And I would say in the last like year or two, male fertility is becoming a little bit more of a hot topic. And we're so excited about it because, yes, like sperm counts have dropped 62% since 1973. And what that means is that men today have more than half of the sperm that their grandfather had, as an example. So, like, and if those sperm rates continue to decline, what will happen 50 years from now? So we really have to look at this as being a big issue for our overall existence. But how we even got into talking about sperm 24/7, because that's basically like what I do, is back in 2020, both Vida and I experienced a loss a week apart. So Vida is my co-founder and my best friend, and she had a miscarriage, and then a week later, I had a miscarriage. I had just turned 41, and I kind of was like doing all the wellness things and I thought I had it nailed down. I was working with Dr. Mark Hyman at the time. I was eating clean, taking the right prenatals or like what I thought were the right prenatals. I removed toxins from my home. I was getting acupuncture. I was really doing everything that I thought I was supposed to. And after I had that 12-week ultrasound and I found out that there was no heartbeat, I asked my doctor, what can I do to optimize my pregnancy? And she said, well, it just happens a lot after 40. It's an age thing. Just keep trying. And that really didn't sit well with me. It made no sense, working in the functional medicine space where you learn that there is a root cause to pretty much anything that's happening with your body. It didn't make sense that there was literally nothing I could do. And yeah, like I was 41, and I guess like in the fertility space, that's considered older, advanced maternal age, or whatever you want to call it. But I didn't look old. I didn't feel old. I actually had looked at my telomeres and I knew that I actually had a biological age that was younger than my chronological age, like way younger. And so I basically started to, like, I became a researcher, talk to any doctor I could talk to, functional medicine experts, started to dive into PubMed. And I learned something that I was shocked about that is so obvious to me now and is so obvious once we tell people about it, that sperm quality impacts 50% of pregnancy outcomes. And if you are doing all the right things and you have good egg quality and you create the right environment for conception, if you have bad sperm quality, like DNA damage or a lot of oxidative stress, that will impact your outcomes. And so I couldn't believe it when I learned that information because it's so obvious that having a baby is like you need a good egg and a good sperm. It takes two to make a baby. But here we were spinning about like, was it me? Was it that that I went on a flight, that I went sledding, that I've been so stressed doing Dr. Hyman's book launch? I literally thought it was me. And who knows, it could have been that my egg quality wasn't optimal. Um, but we learned about this other factor. And so um, what I did was basically I put my husband on a DIY prenatal for men stack because I learned that men who take antioxidants have the opportunity to completely transform their sperm in 90 days. So, nutrients like CoQ10, NAC, vitamin C, vitamin E. And if they do that, they have a process called spermatogenesis where they're constantly regenerating sperm. And so, within 90 days, you can really transform all the things that you were looking at, the morphology, the count, um, basically like everything about the sperm using the power of nutrients. And so I did that with my husband, and then we decided not to try for 3 months. And the first time trying 3 months later, I was pregnant with Emma. And so uh, I had her 4 days after my 42nd birthday. And so, all of this to say is we are so passionate about the power of preconception and pre-pregnancy health and optimizing both ourselves and our partners when trying to conceive because it's those 90 days before conception that can really make or break your pregnancy and not just your pregnancy, your baby's lifelong health. And so this is why we do what we do. And from that, we birthed WeNatal because both Vida and I had positive outcomes after putting our partners on prenatal. And we kind of upped our prenatal game. I started going to acupuncture a couple times a week. And that's how WeNatal was born. We wanted to have the solution for everybody behind us.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Thank you.
amazing that
Mhm.
you have this 90-day window, which is really not a long period of time that we can create a change. Because Renee and I were talking about before with male clients and then also with our husbands, it's really hard to get them to take supplements sometimes. I know for all of my female clients, they have to like count out the supplements and put them in their husband's mouths. But at least this is not like you have to do this for 2 years. Probably the effects are compounded to become better and better. But 90 days is like a pretty small ask, in my opinion.
100%. And yes, like all of us basically spoon fed our husbands their supplements. And I would say, like, before we actually had WeNatal and we were piecing together the regimen for them out of different multivitamins, they were taking like 10 pills a day. WeNatals, for him and for her, they're 3 pills a day. So it's actually not that bad. But our husbands were amazing, especially like after going through such a traumatizing experience of pregnancy loss. I think men are definitely more than willing to make the lifestyle changes, especially when they know the research and the data's there. But I agree with you that like 90 days is actually not that big of a deal. And we talk a lot about like the different lifestyle changes that both men and women have to do together. And so it's like, okay, well, limiting alcohol, can you do that for 90 days? Eating a cleaner diet, it's not forever. But I will say that the more men take WeNatal, they start feeling good. They start, for some people, they feel like their hair is growing, they have better mental clarity, focus, then they start feeling good, and then they actually want to take it. And so a lot of our men take WeNatal as a multivitamin, and because they like feel the difference in their system. And
Yeah, makes
this is
sense.
all to say that like your sperm quality is also a biomarker of your health. Um, a lot of men don't realize how bad they feel, or actually a lot of people don't realize how bad they feel until they start feeling better. And then they're like, and actually Dr. Hyman coined the term FLC, feel like crap. Like you don't realize you have FLC until you start feeling better. And
Yeah.
so many
Or you
men.
start feeling better and then you stop what you're doing and then you have the return of feel like crap and it's very
Yeah.
obvious. That's what I see with my clients. They have to go through all stages to go, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
also like the topic of sperm like just now is becoming so much more of a topic that many people are talking about and linking it to actually longevity. I think when we look at fertility challenges, for instance, in couples, it could be a great opportunity for a man to look under the hood, because I feel like men don't actually go to the doctor as much as women. And so a lot of times they can have things going on, but they don't know about it. And so if you go straight to IVF, what's going to happen is they just need one sperm. So they're not going to really talk to your partner about optimizing sperm quality. But if you try to do things a little bit more like the natural route and really dive into what's going on, it can be an opportunity to overall improve overall health. And actually, a research study just came out of Denmark, um, showing that men who have better sperm quality live 3 years longer. And so it's not just like a fertility thing, it's actually just like a health thing. And we're so happy that so many more people are talking about it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think it could in the next couple of years, I could see it being like the male biohackers biomarker or like something. Like for like women, I always say like you can learn a lot about just like your monthly cycle. Like when you get your period, like there's so much you can analyze that can tell you about your health. And I think for men, it's going to be the same way, especially with more at-home sperm testing available. Like what if men like just tested their sperm every 3 to 6 months at home, just as a barometer of like, how am I doing? I think that could happen really soon.
I 100% think that could happen. And yeah, that would be a dream for us. And I think like a big vision for us with WeNatal would be that it becomes a standard that men and women both take prenatals before trying to conceive, that they invest in the preconception time frame, this golden window of opportunity, because um, I mean, it's just like a no-brainer for us. And so that would be a
Yeah.
dream. Yeah, men looking at their sperm as a biomarker of their health on an ongoing basis, and men taking prenatals. That would be, I feel like that would make the world a
Yeah.
better place.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And something I've seen with people in like the preconception phase is like they're so anxious to start trying. They get married, they want to start trying, and they're like, you're telling me I have to work on my health for 3, 6, 9 months or whatever. But in the big picture, that's such a short amount of time. Like with what you said, it's not only impacting the pregnancy for 9 months, but it's impacting your child's health for life. So like I just recommend people like be patient, and plus the worst is like you jump into it and then you find out you can't get pregnant or then you have a miscarriage. It's like just take the time to prepare the body and you'll have, much more success later on.
That's such an important
Yeah.
point, Renee, because the message that we hear all day long from especially fertility doctors is that the number one factor with fertility is your age. And so the message that you get from there is that like my clock is ticking and I need to do this ASAP. And
Yeah.
if I think back to my experience of having Emma at the age of 42, I consciously decided not to try for 3 months. a lot of women have losses and then they jump straight into trying to conceive again. Like
Mm.
I intuitively knew that I needed my body to heal, even though I was 41, and like a fertility doctor would say, like every cycle, your chances are getting less and less and less. My intuition around my body was like, I want my body to nourish my body. I want my body to heal. I want to really take the time to optimize my husband's health and my health. And, on our first try, we got pregnant. And I actually have a funny story about that. I think because of like the society messaging around age and fertility, my period was a day late. And I thought to myself, like, there's no way I could be pregnant because, I'm 41 and we just tried once. And so, but I thought like I had my sister over for dinner and I thought, you know what, this could be super fun. Like if I am pregnant, like it could be like fun. So I went to the bathroom, took a pregnancy test, looked down on it, and it was negative. So I just threw it in the trash. Next morning, my husband comes into our bedroom and he is like, have you seen this pregnancy test? It's positive. And I was like, oh my God, that can't be. It's from last night. I'll take another test. Like it has to be wrong. And of course it was positive and I was pregnant with Emma. And
Wow.
so I think like for me, a big, you know, a big mission and goal of mine is to first of all tell people like follow your own like intuition and like, even though like doctors out there are saying and doctors are well intentioned, of course age is correlated with fertility. But what we know at WeNatal is there's egg quality and egg quantity. And of course, like with an IVF doctor, they want to make sure that you have a lot of eggs because the process of IVF requires a lot of eggs for a successful outcome. And so, in their mind, of course, you need a lot of eggs. And if you are freezing your eggs, they oftentimes say the sweet spot is age 32. And after that, you'll get less and less eggs. Um,
Mm.
but from my perspective, we talk a lot about egg quality. And so, with Emma, I probably didn't have a ton of eggs. And if I went down the route of IVF, I probably wouldn't have had a positive outcome. But I focused so much in improving my egg quality and of course, improving the sperm quality that fertilize that egg because you don't want to be the only one who's working on your egg quality and then you have like a bad batch of sperm that like completely ruins what you did. So, one product that we have that I'm so excited about is our Egg Quality Plus. And what it is it's all of the nutrients that I was taking on top of my prenatal that are science backed to improve egg quality. And so CoQ10, NAC, alpha lipoic acid, PQQ, L-carnitine, these nutrients, what they do is they support mitochondria. And mitochondria is essentially the battery of the cell. And I can go into the science, but improving your mitochondria will improve your egg quality. And so investing in improving your egg quality, investing in improving your sperm quality can make the biggest difference. And so taking the time to do that is critical.
Yeah,
hmm Yeah, I
100%.
love the conversation about quality because I think this also relates to the biological age conversation where the doctors are so focused on your actual age and not what is the quality of your age or what is your biological age? And I would much rather have more quality information than quantity. And so, yes, and I think it all comes back down to the health of the cell. So then there's so much we can do. I think, especially for men, I love that you brought up the antioxidants. My husband tested his antioxidants recently and they were quite low. And I think that was like a little bit of motivation. Okay, I should take these nutrients. And for him, that probably is going to produce a big change. Whereas us women who are a little more health focused, we're always doing the healthy things. It may take longer to get from A to B, but for men, it's like, oh my gosh, you can get more quality just by taking what you said, these science-backed nutrients. So I love, would you say that is the biggest difference in prenatal versus other prenatals, the load and maybe the quality of the antioxidants?
Well, there there are a lot of differences. So let's start with when we had our losses and we put our husband on all these antioxidants, we initially thought, okay, we're going to launch a prenatal supplement brand for men because that was like our biggest aha. And we didn't think that the world actually needed another women's prenatal because there's so many prenatals out there, like thousands of brands.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what we realized that the good quality prenatals, like the one we were taking back then, was Metagenics plus one. We were taking these pouches that had 7 capsules, and then we were adding vitamin D, iron. I also added all the things to improve egg quality. We were adding more folate. So we ended up taking like around 10 pills a day. And again, I was working in functional medicine, so I was used to taking a lot of supplements that actually
Yeah.
didn't seem like a big deal to me at all. Luckily, Vida, um, who was not used to taking a lot of supplements, we would she would like literally take one supplement every hour. And like some days she couldn't even get through taking all of them. And so we thought, wow, there's like an opportunity to reinvent the better prenatals on the market and actually make them a great brand experience, make the capsule count lower. And so what we did is we essentially worked for over a year on our formulation and really looked at the science and where the data is around dosages, formats of nutrients. And we were able to create like a super comprehensive prenatal with 24 key ingredients in just 3 capsules a day. And how we were able to do that is we manufacture with no fillers. So that's like the one thing that like most prenatals on the market, they have fillers, colors, binders. These are things that extend the shelf life. It makes them able to, produce things faster, cheaper. And so for us, we manufacture with no filler. That's number one. Number two, all of our ingredients are bioavailable. So when we're looking at like things like folic acid, we use methylfolate, which is a bioavailable form of this B vitamin that allows anybody to absorb this nutrient. I'm sure you guys have talked about like folate versus folic acid a million times on this podcast, and I'm
Yeah,
sure your audience
methylation.
knows about it. But it's super important when you're looking at a prenatal, making sure that the B vitamins are bioavailable. Looking at filler, like I said. Then there are some nutrients like choline, for instance. Choline is critical for baby brain development. And research shows that when you're pregnant, you need 450 milligrams of choline. Now, there's choline in eggs, but the average American is getting about 180 grams uh, of choline a day. And so our prenatal has 400 milligrams of choline. So that's another one. And there are a lot of prenatals on the market. Like I would say the store brands, like if you walk into a Target or a Costco or a CVS that don't even have choline in them. So that's another
Thanks.
one that we look at. And then a big one for us was third-party testing and transparency around the actual product. So we have an external agency look at the prenatal, and what they do is they validate that what's in your label is actually in your label. Like if we're saying that we're giving you 400 milligrams of choline, there's actually 400 milligrams in the capsules that you're taking. They look at bacterial contamination, and then they look at heavy metals, which is also a big one. So that's another one that we're
Yeah.
super passionate about. So that's really why we got into the women's prenatal, and that's kind of how WeNatal was born out of this idea of a men's prenatal. So how it
Yeah.
compares, I would say, from a high level, the better prenatals typically have a high pill count. So ours only has 3. And then, the other prenatals, like the store brand prenatals, even like better places like Whole Foods or Erewhon, the prenatals on the shelf there are just like, I wouldn't touch them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know
The
if I would ever go
supplement
to a
industry.
store to buy a prenatal, but yeah,
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 yeah. Well, yeah,
I
and three
mean, but
capsules is so easy. I mean, even the one that I've recommended a lot to clients, it was 8 capsules a day. And 90% of the time, the women would be like, 8 capsules? Like, that's a
yeah,
lot,
that
you
is a
know?
lot for some people.
Yeah.
I mean,
Versus
it's a lot to take
biohackers,
it.
it's not a lot, but yeah.
Well, even for a biohacker, I would say like, okay, maybe in the pre-pregnancy time frame, you're gonna like do your 8 pills a day, but like once you're in your first trimester and you're
Oh, yeah.
nauseous, how can you stomach 8 pills? It's just like crazy
Yeah,
to me.
That's a good
yeah,
And
point.
so our whole
yeah.
thing was to make it like easy for the consumer. And then of course we also like made really beautiful packaging. I'm actually staring at our packaging right now, so I'll show you.
Oh
I love
yeah,
the
show
colors.
it.
We made really
Yes.
beautiful packaging. Both Vida and I worked at Nike before in our career. That's actually how we met. And we thought like we want the prenatal to be something that you just keep on your kitchen counter or in your bathroom and don't like shove it in a drawer and then like completely forget about it. So we want it to
Yeah.
be like top of mind and just part of your household.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I love
prettier
that.
than the Metagenics bottles for sure.
You should see my kitchen counter. My husband's always like, "Do we need all of these on the counter?" I'm like, if they're
Yep.
on the counter, I won't forget to take them. So I appreciate that those look like very
Well,
beautiful.
we'll send you guys WeNatal, and then you can like
Okay.
level up your kitchen counter. And I
Thank
feel
you.
like within the prenatal, there, I don't know, it might like you might not need your metagenic stuff anymore because it's so like nutrient dense with like so many things.
Yeah. I want
Yeah,
to get my husband on it too.
I
yeah,
mean,
why
why
not?
not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big why not for all people. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So with men, I would love to circle back to the biological age conversation because, as you said, we hear as women all the time after 35, everything goes downhill. But for men, you hear about these, celebrities having babies in their 60s, 70s, like it's not a problem. But can you speak to, is there a concern with as they're aging, but biologically and chronologically? Is there a problem with their sperm? Are we going to potentially see more health issues in the offspring for
That's
older
such a
men?
that's such a great question, and I feel like that's one myth that we often try to bust, that like men don't have a fertility time clock like us
Mm,
women, like the clock is ticking, but for them, and yeah, we hear about like Al Pacino and Robert De Niro and all these people are having
yeah. Hugh
kids in their
Hefner.
70s and 80s, right?
Yeah.
But actually, research shows that male fertility declines like in the mid 30s. And actually, their off as paternal age increases, there's a greater likelihood for certain chronic diseases in the offspring. Like, for instance, autism is even linked to advanced paternal age. And so it is important to, focus on and kind of like mitigate this kind of decline by using antioxidants and B vitamins and improving sperm quality as men age. I think it's super, super important. And
Okay.
so, yeah, that's a big myth. Men,
yeah.
Yeah. Thank
yes,
you.
they can have babies, but their sperm quality like declines.
Mm.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
But I'm also
Yeah.
curious with, there's so many variables as it relates to IVF, but in some ways, this is a big, it's a pause. It affords women way more time. But I see a lot of women that are looking into this and not doing the nutritional and the lifestyle stuff. They're buying time, but they're also not looking at the milieu of the body and the biological clock, the aging that's happening there. So I'm wondering
Yeah.
if there's other pieces of this puzzle that we're not looking at. Yes, it's amazing that we now have this technology and more people know about it. And I'm hearing, I hear 30-year-olds going, I got to freeze my eggs. Like, it's good you're thinking about that, but we got to think about all these other pieces. Do you think there's something else that we're potentially missing or could be, yeah, I'll just start there. Something
Well,
we're
I
missing.
100%. So first of all, ART is amazing because it does help so many people that need to have babies. But I also want to note that it's a $20 billion industry and growing. So this is an industry that has a lot of money behind it, and it's a very expensive and emotional process to go through. Now, if somebody goes through the motions and does like all the things and they still have, you know, are having infertility or recurrent miscarriages, nowadays with the advanced technology that they have through IVF to test genetically the genetics of the embryo and to see like, is there some sort of issue with the embryo? I think for somebody like that, like, yeah, I think IVF is for sure an option. But I do think that there are so many things that you could do before you get to that route, go down that route. So, for instance, PCOS. PCOS is a big one. It's the number one cause of infertility, and about 1 in 10 women have PCOS. And, oftentimes, again, PCOS is a complicated hormonal issue in women. But a lot of times you can manage your PCOS with healthy blood sugar. And so working on your diet. And so I would say like diet is a big one. So making sure that you're eating clean food and you're looking at your blood sugar. We know that women who are obese have higher chances of infertility, and also women who are underweight. So that's another thing. There's kind of like a sweet spot to your weight. You don't want to be like super lean and have your body feel like it's under like chronic stress. So I think there's that. I think when we look at the cause of infertility, where we have like three kind of big things. You have your environment. So like what has changed in the last 50 years to cause the sperm decline that we spoke about, or to cause like an increased rate in women's infertility? Because right
EMFs,
now,
chemicals, infections,
I
shitty
mean,
air. My God, it goes on and
Food
on.
what hasn't
deficiencies.
changed,
What
right?
hasn't changed?
What hasn't
Yeah.
changed? I mean, literally everything has changed. What
Right.
we're putting on our bodies, what we're putting in our bodies, like the plastics, the phthalates, the BPAs, the receipts, all of these things are just like constant now. And then it's like
Yeah.
what we're putting in our bodies, and then it's the stress. I know you guys talked about this before, but like we are living under constant stress in our lives, and our bodies weren't made to reproduce during stressful times. So, like, what can we
Right.
do um, to kind of manage the stress? So, can we invest more in our sleep? Can we invest more in, enjoying life and having fun and like, those things? So, I would say from like just an environment perspective, that's what we're looking at. But from like a physical perspective, I think there's like, issues like nutrient deficiencies that people can look at and like see, okay, could it be a nutrient deficiency that's causing our fertility challenges here? Um, is it a hormonal issue? Is it a blood sugar issue? So before going down that route of IVF, doing all those things can actually improve your IVF outcomes. And there's an amazing book called It Starts with the Egg by Rebecca Fett that talks a lot about, all of the things that you could do in the pre-pregnancy timeframe that will improve your IVF outcomes. And it's literally all the things that we talk about 24/7 at WeNatal.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think you really hit it on the head before when you mentioned the mitochondria, because I see clients that have PCOS. It's not a blood sugar issue, or they have blood sugar dysregulation, but that's not the root of it. It is
Mm.
the stress to your cells, it's the environment, it's the underlying infections, all these things that we're exposed to. So if we can help the mitochondria, then it's like we're not looking in a million directions or blaming these downstream things. So I love that you have those nutrients for mitochondria. That's just like, let's go to the source.
Exactly. And honestly,
Yeah.
like I'm still taking mitochondrial support because we all need to kind of,
Everybody needs
we all
this.
need it, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
nutrients, these nutrients are so powerful. And, we hear from so many people, like, especially in LA, like people are pretty healthy here. I eat a clean diet. I don't really need a prenatal. I'm eating a clean diet and I'm eating healthy and I'm prioritizing protein, but it's like food is not made the same way as it used to.
No.
Research shows
Yeah.
that to get the same amount of vitamin C from an orange that our grandparents ate, you need to eat 8 oranges. And so,
Yeah.
do you know anybody who's eating 8 oranges? I
Please
mean,
don't do that. Please
please
don't do
do
And
that.
also don't for your blood sugar. Like don't.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, unless I think even if you are growing your own food in your backyard and it's organic and the soil is amazing, I still think you're going to be deficient.
a
It's just
hundred
so
percent.
hard today.
Kelly Levesque, who is one of our advisors and is a nutritionist, she said, like, I'm a nutritionist and like I like make a living out of like, food. And even if my full-time job was eating for my fertility, it would be impossible. It
Yeah,
really would. Like, imagine how many eggs you'd have to eat to get the amount of choline that's in our prenatal, or
Yeah.
getting 4,000 IUs of vitamin D, which is critical for fertility and pregnancy health. You can't really do that in today's lifestyle. I mean, we're spending 92% of our day indoors. That's like, no wonder why we're all like low in vitamin D. And like, magnesium is another one. We just launched a magnesium supplement because our prenatal has magnesium, but for those who need that extra boost, because our soils are depleted of magnesium. And so you can't really get that from food anymore.
right, right. And
Mm-mm.
then you're depleting it with all the stress and the EMFs, so you're
And
burning
the
through
air
it.
pollution, I think of California.
Yeah,
I'm like, you guys have to eat so healthy because it's the highest air pollution potentially in the country, like the PM 2.5 and like San
yeah,
Fernando Valley. I have so many clients there, they're so heavily toxic and they do
Yeah.
eat healthy. It's like there's so
Yep.
much that's out of your control based on where you live, unfortunately.
Totally. Totally.
yeah. I have a question about two kind of like exciting nutrients right now. A lot of people are talking about it, especially in the biohacking space. Urolithin A and spermidine. Now, I know urolithin A is huge for mitochondria. Spermidine, I've heard maybe for ovarian reserve, ovarian aging. Have you come across anything with those two or?
Um,
Mhm.
I we haven't really, for like when we were formulating WeNatal. What we did actually 6 months after launching, there was a meta-analysis that looked at hundreds of studies about nutrients and pregnancy and fertility. And we actually changed our formulation based off of that study that came out. At that point, there wasn't anything about urolithin A. I actually took
Yeah.
MitoPure for a little while. I
Okay.
personally didn't feel the difference. I,
Yeah.
I again, this is a constant thing, and we're constantly going to be learning about these nutrients as they relate to fertility. And I would say that, just to caution your audience, that like a lot of nutrients that are kind of hyped to speak about, like for instance, like CoQ10. We know that CoQ10 supports fertility, but
Yeah,
it's
that's been
not,
around for a long time.
it's been a lot, and even the most conventional fertility doctors will talk about CoQ10, which at least they know that. But it's actually not in our prenatal, it's in a separate pre-pregnancy, our Egg Quality Plus product, because a lot of these nutrients, because they're new, have not been tested on pregnancy. And so
Okay.
you want to make sure that if you are taking things like urolithin A or some other things that can promote fertility, why not try them? But you have to stop taking them once you get a positive pregnancy test, because
Okay.
that's the
Just don't
time that
know.
you don't want to mess with like these new nutrients.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
That's a
and
great
even
point. That's a
even
great
things
point.
like GLP-1s, I just want to point out, like we're talking to, well, I
I'm just
don't
gonna.
know. I don't know. I think the
Mm,
jury is out on that. And I would say, like, somebody who is obese, who has like blood sugar issues, I don't know. Before going down the route of IVF, that might be, in a combination with weight training, in combination with eating healthy. I'm not saying like keep
yeah.
eating fast food and get on a GLP-1. I'm saying
Yeah.
that um, that could be, another avenue for some people. And we actually are hearing this concept of Ozempic babies, people that, had infertility and went on Ozempic and all of a sudden they got pregnant. But the
Interesting.
research is showing that if you are on a GLP-1, you have to stop taking it 2 months before trying to conceive. Because again, these are all new things and you don't want that in your system when you're pregnant.
Yeah, that's
Right.
why I was shaking
That
my head
makes
because it's not studied. But just as you said,
Exactly.
before you do
yeah.
IVF, you should do a lifestyle. And I think even before you do GLP-1, you should do the lifestyle.
A
And
100%.
of like hundreds of clients that I've seen, I've only had two that like could not accomplish what we wanted to without the GLP-1. So but some people
Mm.
have a timeline, and I think that's your prerogative on how quickly you want
Yeah,
that to
they
happen.
have a timeline. They just are living such a stressful life that, like, I mean, we hear this from people all the time that just um, like the mental burden of just like constantly like thinking about food is a lot. So, like, for those
Yeah.
people, like the GLP-1 helps them.
Yeah. For food
For
noise, I think
sure.
it's so helpful. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and that just
Okay.
comes back to the stress component. If we can relieve stress for women, this whole thing is going to go so much better. I wonder if men ever stress as much as the women do. I don't think that they do.
I don't know, they stress in other ways, but we actually,
Yeah.
stress for us was a big component when we were formulating WeNatal as well. And so we actually created, and you'll see when you get our WeNatal Together kit, we actually have a manifestation journal in the Together kit. And
Cool.
the journal is, a big part of it is a daily gratitude prompt. It's 3 minutes a day to have some gratitude around your partner, around your child or your future child, around yourself. And research actually shows that gratitude reduces stress. And I know that for a lot of people in the trying to conceive phase, it could be really stressful and it could feel like there's nothing to be grateful for. And we spoke before the recording about, how I lost my home in the Palisades, and you'd think like, oh, how could she be happy? How could she be, grateful for anything? But I am so grateful for so many things in my life, and life goes on, and I'm optimistic and I'm excited about what's, going to transfold for me. And so I think the same thing with fertility. If you're constantly getting this like negative pregnancy test, or you have recurrent loss, you can still find things to be grateful for. It's sunny in LA today. It's actually not sunny, but it's
It
actually
looks
nice.
sunny.
It looks sunny. I'm here.
um there's so many things that we could still be grateful for, and gratitude is like a muscle. The more you find things to be grateful for, the more like easily it'll come to you. And then gratitude changes your biology and reduces cortisol and reduces stress. And so that's another big part of WeNatal. We talk about the mind body connection a lot. And it's a two-way street. Your mind influences your body and your body influences your mind. And so I think that's a big one for us too.
Yeah, I love that you do that. I love our friend Ben Azadi calls it vitamin G, the gratitude. And the whole idea of the manifestation, something that I did back when my husband and I were actively trying to get pregnant. I don't remember where I heard this, but we cleaned up the room that was going to be the baby room. Like we made it very calming, clean, no clutter, and we put a picture of like our dream nursery on the wall. Like the whole idea
Oh.
of like this manifestation, and it was actually, although we didn't get pregnant, it was, I think, very helpful. It was like calming, and I don't know, it was a beautiful practice. So
Yeah, it's so
to incorporate.
so interesting. Like after I had my miscarriage, one book that I read was called Spirit Babies. And it's
I
a
think I've
book.
heard of that.
Yeah, it's a book that speaks to like you have your spirit babies and they're like kind of waiting for you, but they're waiting for the right
Oh.
time to come into your life. And so it's kind of trusting that like timing, but also showing that spirit baby of like, hey, I'm ready for you. And this may sound like woo woo, but a lot of times we talk to people about, okay, like let's work on detoxing your house, removing your cleaning supply, like your toxic stuff from your home, da da da. And but then I always say like it's also like this practice of creating a home that you want to have your like fresh new baby in, it's like kind of setting up the stage for that baby and showing that spirit baby that like, hey, we're ready, the house is ready for you. And so I've heard of people like actually set up a nursery before they were even pregnant and to kind of like manifest that baby.
Hmm.
But I think that's so beautiful that you did that.
Yeah, it was cool. We
Mm,
didn't, build a crib or anything, but the picture was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah. The
oh,
importance of mindset.
Mindset is everything.
Yeah.
yeah, it really controls a lot in the body. Can't be overlooked.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Ronit, before we start to wrap up, can you share with us, like if someone goes to the WeNatal site, what can they find? So we have the female, the male formulation with the sperm quality, and I think you have some other like omegas.
Yeah, so we have WeNatal for him, WeNatal for her. You could get it together as a together kit. The together kit comes with a manifestation journal. We have Egg Quality Plus, which is a pre-pregnancy formula for to improve egg quality. We have our Magnesium Rest and Digest, which is amazing. And what else do we
Yeah.
have? I'm trying to
The
The
think.
omega, the
omegas.
DHEA,
Oh, the Omega,
the
the
DHA.
Omega. Oh my gosh. Omega was the product that we launched after, actually, it was the second product that we launched because how bad is the experience of taking Omegas in general? Like, I mean, have you ever had like fish burps or like had to swallow like a crazy Nordic natural pill? It's just like so much. So we created these Omegas that are super clean. They are like have the best experience. They smell like lemon. You don't have fish burps after you take them. They're tiny, two tiny little pills. So our omegas are amazing as well. And then we're launching something very cool in September. I can't wait to tell you about it. Other than the
Okay.
products,
And what about the difference between the omega together and the DHA? Would
it's basically the same product. Together is so that like you can get two for your partner.
okay.
But it's the same product.
It's the
It's just
same
like a
product.
double.
Got it. Okay.
But other than the products, we have so much education on our website. Our blog is a wealth of knowledge from different experts in our field that talk about every topic under the sun related to pre, during, and postpartum. Then we also have a free fertility masterclass. So if you go to wenatal.com/masterclass, we have 11 experts from biohackers to nutritionists to naturopathic doctors to fertility doctors to urologists talking
Wow.
about everything from men's health to women's health to postpartum to baby's health. We have some pediatricians on there. So that's a free resource. And I think a big thing for Vida and I was that um, we knew how fortunate we were to be in this space, to have the relationships that we had with doctors like Dr. Hyman, to have the education that we had. And we wanted to really bring our community all of the resources that we had. And so we try to do this the through the blog, through social. We're at we_natal, and we're constantly posting information and content and anything that we learn, we want to share always with our community.
Thank you for all of that. Yeah, the more education, the better. So thank you for all that you put
Hmm.
together. The website is beautiful. So much great information. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. One final question for you before we wrap up. Can you tell our audience what your number one piece of advice would be to optimize someone's health today? What should they start doing right away?
Mm. Gosh, just one. I'm
Just
like,
one.
where
And
do I start?
it can be more fertility focused if that's more top of
I
mind.
I mean, I think
Too.
like just fertility health is health. So I'll just like keep it at health. I would say like what you're doing every single day, multiple times a day is eating. And so I would say like prioritize making your diet and what you're eating a priority and focusing on the quality of the food you're eating, your macros, your micronutrients. And I would say like just for me, like a big thing that I've done for my health since January is my sister's a chef and she actually worked with Dr. Hyman on like his cookbook and she was doing some like recipes for him. And so now she has a business here in Los Angeles of like meal prepping. And so she meal preps for me. And it's been the
Nice.
biggest game changer because I mean, I love healthy food, but just as a busy like entrepreneur and mom, it's so hard to actually like prioritize eating clean. And so like what would happen to Vida and I, we'd be working and then we'd be like, what do we what do we order? Okay, so like we would order Goop Kitchen, but like I mean, it's just like it's not sustainable to constantly order food. So like meal prepping and having healthy food ready to go was like the biggest thing for me. And especially like
Yeah.
during the fires, like having that like healthy food there allowed me to actually like get through a super stressful time in my life without getting sick, with being like, at the top of my game, when you need to be, being there for my kids and my family, moving, doing all the things. I would say like eating a clean, healthy diet, which was like more like probably like high protein, was the biggest game changer for me.
Mm. That's great advice. Yeah. I always say that if I ever win the lottery, my first thing I would get is a in-home private chef.
Chef, the
100%.
best.
100%. That's
Yeah.
it.
That I mean, that to me is like luxury. That to me is
Yes.
abundance, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Ronit, thank you
Uh,
so much for joining us today. This is amazing. We're so excited to share WeNatal with our audience. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your time with us today.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun with you.
Likewise.
Same.
Yes.
All right. And thanks to everyone that tuned in. We will see you next time.